Emma Vigeland of Rebel Headquarters asked Elizabeth Warren a really good question about why she voted for a disgusting, bloated military budget. And her non-answer here was fascinating.
Have focused a lot on progressive domestic policy. You also voted for a military budget increase in 2017. How does that square with your progressive politics when we're talking about foreign policy?
If the question is, do I think we should cut the military budget, the answer is yes. And I'm now on the Senate Armed Services Committee. I've had this fight over and over. But there's another part to it, too. We need to stop the control over our defense budget that's exercised by the giant defense industry. As you know, we now have a Secretary of Defense who spent 7 years as head lobbyist for Raytheon. I asked for some simple conflict of interest rules that he would abide by. For example, not to make decisions that involve Raytheon and Raytheon's bottom line. And he refused. The Republicans confirmed him anyway. But this is what corruption is all about. Putting lobbyists in charge of our government agencies, a lobbyist, former lobbyist in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency. This is the heart of corruption. And the moment has come to call it out and to fight back. That's what being in this room was all about.
See, that's all fine and dandy, but you didn't answer the question. You didn't even come close to answering the question. So why did you support a bloated military budget, and how does that square with your domestic progressive politics? And then she goes on this long-winded rant, this tangent about, I do think we need to cut the military budget, and I asked for some basic conflict of interest rules for the Raytheon guy. And that's wonderful, but that wasn't even close to answering the question. Are you going to answer the question? She's not. She's not going to. You want to know why, guys? She doesn't have a good answer. See, this is why journalism is actually so important, and this is why I'm really hard on mainstream media on this show. Because they have such an important job. Their job is to be the watchdog of the powerful. And oftentimes, they end up being the lapdog of the powerful. By the way, don't give me credit for that saying. I stole that from Cenk Uygur circa like 2012. But yeah, they're not the watchdog of the powerful anymore. They're the lapdog of the powerful. And it's fascinating when you actually see a good question asked. It's fascinating because they're so not used to being challenged that they don't know how to react when they are challenged. So basically, she just went into this tap dance trying to prove her progressive bona fides. It's a weird word. I don't know how to say it. You're right. But she's trying to prove it, and it's just falling short because you did a Neo from the Matrix-style dodge of a very basic, straightforward question. The reality is, guys, she has no good answer. For the same reason, she has no good answer why she approved Ben Carson to be the head of Housing and Urban Development. In the first vote. Second vote, she didn't. She was against it, but that was only after hearing that massive outcry. But what would lead a human being with a functioning brain to say, yes, Ben Carson for head of Housing and Urban Development in the first place? Should have never said that. By the way, another area where Elizabeth Warren should be asked about, she did an interview with Cenk Uygur, and in that interview, she said, in no uncertain terms, that come the general election, I'll take big money. And she said, I don't believe in unilateral disarmament. Well, guess what? The left is not going to tolerate that. They're not going to stand for that. Because basically, if you agree that corporate PAC money, big donor money is corrupting, well, then you believe that. And so you don't get to pick and choose and say, I choose to not be corrupt in the primary, but then in general, I'll be corrupt. Fuck it. And that's effectively what she's saying. So, that's massively concerning to the left. Rightfully so. So there are many, many questions about Elizabeth Warren. And it's unfortunate. You would hope she'd have a better answer. You would hope that she would be like, well, listen, the reason I supported it is because there was one very important provision, and that important provision, I don't know, you fill in the blank, gave necessary body armor to people in the direct line of fire in Afghanistan. Whatever, something more convincing. There was nothing. You want to know why? Because you can't defend it. Because it was a terrible vote. God damn it. And the Democrats, they do this all the time. They did it with, they spent months calling Donald Trump Vladimir Putin's puppet and a Manchurian candidate president, and then they immediately turned around and voted to give him more NSA spying powers. You just said he was doing Vladimir Putin's bidding and he's a Manchurian candidate. So I guess you want Vladimir Putin to be able to spy on all of us? Again, I'm using your line of thought. This isn't mine. This is yours. Again, if you think he's such a lunatic madman, he shouldn't have his finger on the red button, and that's why I'm going to vote to give him a $100 billion increase in military spending. What? See, this is the Mick resistance. That's not real resistance. That's Mick resistance. You make noises with your mouth, and then you go and serve them with your policies. That's not okay. So terrible answer from Elizabeth Warren, but she knows it was terrible. That's why she tried to immediately go into a tap dance of like, no, I'm a lefty. I'd cut military spending. Another letdown. Again, I said it in an earlier segment. I'll say it again now. The media keeps telling Elizabeth Warren, oh, in order for you got to reach out to more centrist establishment voters now because you got the left on lock. Everybody in the real world knows it's the opposite. The demographics that support her the most? College-educated older liberals. That demographic is more centrist. Who she needs is the base. And she's not doing a good job reaching out to them. She's just giving them more and more reason to be concerned, and it's a shame.